on. Clay, thank you for joining us for this business spotlight from North Shore Adventures. And there's a unique story here. I don't think we've had somebody on telling this story because you took over an existing business.
Yep.
And I want you to start there. Kind of take us down the road of what you were doing before and how you got into North Shore Adventures.
Totally. So quick backstory. I have my master's degree in marine and environmental science. So I always wanted to be a scientist since I was a little kid. And I got an opportunity when I graduated college to teach marine science on Catalina Island. And we did a lot of kayaking out there. We took our students out, snorkeling, kayaking, and just learning about the marine environment. And so I got a lot of experience doing sea kayaking out there. And then I went to get my master's and ended up moving to Gloucester and getting into teaching. And I loved all of that. I love teaching. I love science. But I got laid off from a couple jobs through no fault of my own and kind of got tired of working really, really hard and just feeling like I kicked to the curb. And so my aunt and uncle were visiting and they saw this guy, Steven, who had the business for sale. He had operated it since 98, 25 years, very successfully, ended up having a huge customer base and very, very popular.
And that was North Shore Kayak?
Correct.
Out on Bearskin Neck.
You got it.
In Rockport.
In Rockport, yep. And so it ended up being a really amazing business opportunity for me to feel like I was doing something with myself and getting people outside and teaching them science and just having really cool adventures and trying to build connections to like the natural world, which is all I've ever wanted to do in life. And so it was a perfect opportunity. So we purchased his assets and started a new business, North Shore Adventures LLC, 3 years ago. And the rest is history. We've sort of branched out and are starting to do different things more than just kayaking. And it's been really fun. I love it.
It's like, it's wild how this is something you didn't even expect. And it literally by like chance came across your bow.
100%. You know, like no one chooses their path in life. I mean, some people can try, but you know, life just throws things at you and you either take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you or you don't. And this is one of those things where I've always wanted to like have an actual business. I've always have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I just never had the opportunity, or I've had like small side gigs here or there. And they've been mostly successful, but this was an opportunity to like go big or go home. And so at this point in my life, we had some money saved up. And so we decided this was a worthwhile investment. And so we jumped in.
You had one kid at the time. Correct. And you had like another kid on the way.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this totally makes sense. Like, let's go do this.
Well, it's such a great business model because like I work my butt off, like working weeks straight at a time, sometimes with no days off, all summer long, and even a little bit in the shoulder seasons. And then the winter time, when school is in session or whatever else, I get to spend time at home, taking care of the kids, helping out, doing all my office work that I don't get to do the rest of the year. And so it's a really good balance of working really, really crazy hard, and then having some like slower seasons, which is now in the wintertime.
So give us a little bit about your core business. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Like, what time of day? Like, because your core business is still kayaking.
Our core business is totally kayaking.
Like guided kayaking tours.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say about 50% of our business is kayaking, both rentals and tours. We do paddleboarding as well as bikes. But still, the rentals and the tours are about 50% of our revenue.
Where do you guys mostly go out of?
So our business is based out of Bearskin Neck, Tuna Wharf specifically. And so we leave Rockport Harbor, which is, I would say, I know I'm biased, probably one of the most best launch sites in all of Cape Ann. We have a little protected private beach where we launch from. We have access to Straightmouth Island. We can land, hike out to the lighthouses, climb to the top of the lighthouses. Thacher Island, right around the corner. 2 lighthouses. some of the last remaining twin lights in the entire country. And you can hike up and climb to the top of these huge lights. Beautiful, like I would say some of the best views in all of Cape Ann from the top of these lighthouses.
Yeah.
They're like literally the tallest buildings, I think, in the area. And hike around the islands, see all this really unique biology and animals, and all right from our shop.
Where else do you guys go? Do you travel? Do you like?
We do, yep. So one of the new things that we offered second year of operation was doing mobile tours. So we have a kayak trailer, and we started offering tours in Gloucester Harbor, going out to 10-Pound Island, all around the harbor, and then also out of Ipswich and Essex. Canoma Point being our most popular spot because we can launch from there. There's public parking for non-residents. And it's also a really cool to just kayak around through the marshes, see all the wildlife out there, kayak around the islands.
Get to the backside.
Stretch
out your legs.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll land on Crane Beach, have lunch, hike through the dunes, which is a really amazing, very rare ecological environment.
That's
there.
my stomping ground. So
Yeah.
I'm an Essex resident,
Okay.
and we've got our 17-foot whaler there in the Essex River,
Oh,
and we're like
perfect.
straight to the backside with the kids every weekend
Exactly.
we can, every night we can.
It's amazing. We'll probably see you out there sometime.
Exactly. It's a special spot.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And Chode Island is also just really cool. We'll take our tours. We'll land on Chode Island, hike up, see all the old buildings and the history and the biology. And so all of our guides are trained in both the biology of the area, the environment, and the history. So that's the differentiation between our tours and our rental business. Is like anybody can rent a kayak and go out and have a good time. Like that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're looking for. Our tours step it up a notch. You're having a full rounded experience where you have a tour guide who will teach you about the area, will tell you all kinds of cool stories about the history and the animals and everything.
Yeah.
And so it's like a learning experience as well as a really fun experience.
What is if somebody goes on a tour with you? What's the typical like length of the day?
So our most offerings are 2-hour tours or 3.5-hour tours. Our coastal tour we call it is.
I like that you don't do the 3-hour tour. It's like 2.5 or 3.5. It's like because the 3-hour had a bad rap there for a while.
Exactly. No one wants to go on a 3-hour tour. So, yeah, the 2-hour tour is like our we call it the coastal tour, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's just for beginners, but it's for people that are just looking for a short jaunt, go out, land on Straightsmouth Island or wherever, have a good time, and then come back without being like crazy strenuous. The 3.5-hour tour is more for slightly more advanced people that are looking for doing a 5-mile kayak. Usually our 3.5 hours like 5 miles, which isn't really that long in the grand scheme of kayaking.
Have you ever had somebody go in the Essex River and they just get going the wrong way against the tide and they're just like kind of not moving, right?
Well, that's part of why we don't rent kayaks in other places usually, unless you know what you're doing. Because when you're in a tidal system, like any of the tidal rivers or Anasquam River, anywhere like that, you can get into a lot of trouble if the tide's going the opposite way, or you can literally get stranded out there because it's a raging river, whitewater rapids.
Yeah, it's moving sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Faster than you can keep up.
So one thing why we do all of our non-Rockport tours are customizable. So we look at the tides. I look at the tides, and then we base our departure time based on what the tide's doing and where the currents are going and everything else. So
yeah, you want them coming back with the tide going with them.
Yep.
So that when they're tired, they're getting
you always
help.
want to go if you have to go against the tide, which we try to not go against the tide at all. But if you do have to go against the tide, you want to do it during slack tide, which is either high tide or low tide. And you want to be going against the tide when you're starting, and then you want to go with the tide on your way back.
Yep.
So all these intricacies, this is why we have guides, and you're going with a reputable company that knows what they're doing, or at least pretends to.
I swam to the backside one time.
That's intense. From Konomo?
From Konomo, yeah. It was like dead low. And so, God, this was years ago.
Jeez.
And it was like I had to swim effectively 3 rivers.
Yeah.
To get
I know
out
exactly what you're talking about. And then land on the sand and then walk across.
And then get to the next river and swim.
Which is, I mean, walking across the sand is challenging in of itself, because when the tide goes out, it leaves air bubbles in there, so you sink sometimes like 6 inches to a foot just into the sand.
Stepping on clamshells.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But then you get out there and the boat concentration is really tight. So it's like, okay, there's no boats coming. Hustle through this swim, you know?
Yep. I know the feeling. I've done a similar thing. My wife and I had a house. We rented a house on Lobster Cove in Gloucester. And so we swam from our house over to Wingersheek across the Annisquam River. And it was the same way. It was an outgoing tide. And we just went whoosh down, out, playing bumper boats the whole time. Luckily we didn't get hit. But yeah, it was sketchy. Didn't do that again.
Okay, so you took this business over. It was mostly a kayak, rental business, tour business. You've added bikes.
Yep.
These are tours or self-guided?
So currently, the past 2 years, we've had beach cruisers bikes, which are like super low-key, kind of go around town. And then last year we had e-bikes. And this year we're offering e-bike self-guided tours. So you basically have we provide like an old cell phone that has the GPS. It shows you where to go. It also has audio recordings. So you push the button, it tells you about the area. And so it's basically a tour, but it's self-guided. And so you hear me telling you all about the cool stuff, just I'm not there, which is sad. But
it's perfectly scalable though. You also, this is the newest one that I'm like, I think this is the most innovative thing I've heard on Cape Ann in a while that all you people listening to this need to go check out, because I think this is gonna blow up big. But it's the Escape Cape Ann that's gonna be coming in this summer of 2025.
Summer, yep.
Tell us what that means though, because it's technologically advanced.
It is. I mean, kids these days are probably like, oh, whatever. But I think it's pretty cool. It's augmented reality, which basically means you're looking through a screen and a video camera, an iPad, and you're seeing things that aren't actually there. And it allows you to get into this experience. There's 3 different games that you can play with it. And you follow a map around Rockport. You go to different sites, try to solve these puzzles. There's a spy thriller as well as a fantasy game. And it's anywhere from a 2 to like 3 hour experience. You have you can either do it yourself or with a team. It's a lot funner with a team. And you have to solve these puzzles, riddles. You have a whole toolkit that you actually use these tools to like solve all these problems. And it's really cool. You get to like dive into this alternate reality, basically, pretend that you're trying to save the world. And it's great for adults, kids, like all ages. And it really gets you out into the world. So you get to see the area, you get to see the sights, but you're also playing this really cool game. So it's like similar to like my goal of running the business of getting people outdoors, getting people having fun. But it's a little bit lower, like, I guess, fear level than kayaking. Like some people are straight up scared to go on the water, and I recognize that, but I still think it's important to get people out having fun outside. And that was kind of one of the honesties for starting this like outdoor escape room, basically.
I really like it. Does it involve the other local businesses, or?
It can. Yeah, we're still developing it and trying to build some partnerships where you have to like look at a menu to try to figure out like what somebody ate or whatever else. And there's also going to be like different things, whether like out on the breakwater, I'm going to like hide or glue some things like onto the rocks that you have to use and find. And so, yeah, it will definitely involve some different businesses. I'm hoping to wrap in Rockport Brewery.
Yeah.
Once they get their spot going up. So yeah, I definitely hope to get some other businesses tied into it.
I think that one's going to keep you busy. I think because you're absolutely right. Not everybody wants to go out into the open ocean on a kayak. Give us or give the listeners, I guess, an idea of like what some of these prices are. Because I think some people put like a guided tour on this pedestal of like, oh, like that sounds expensive, something like, but it's really not. Like, I mean,
in the grand scheme,
compared to what you're paying for other entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. Or dinner, for that matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't take my wife and my 2 young girls out for dinner without getting a $75 to $100 bill, and
Yeah,
it's just dinner, you know. So yeah, that's one of the things that, as someone who's not very wealthy, we've always tried to keep our prices as manageable and reasonable as possible. Specifically because part of my core, I guess, moral guidance for having this business is to get people, whether you have money or you don't have money, out into the environment and out having experiences. So like our rentals, if you wanted to like straight up just take a kayak out for 2 hours, it's like $40. Where else can you have 2 hours of really awesome time doing something that you may have never done before in your entire life for $40?
you get the kayak, you get the paddle, you get the life jacket.
Yep, you get a 10-15 minute precursor of like how to kayak, where to go, where not to go. You get a little map that shows you how to stay safe, and you get to go out to Straightmouth Island if you wanted to, and land on the island, hike out to the lighthouse. Like, just a really, really cool experience.
And you don't even have to lug it anywhere from your own house, like down there.
Yeah, we also have season passes, where you basically pay a flat fee at the beginning of the season. You can kayak every single day of the summer with that season pass.
What does a season pass cost?
Like $350.
Yeah,
I mean, way cheaper than
like not
buying a kayak.
I was gonna say, a kayak's gonna cost you
and
way
storing
more than
it and lugging it around, loading it. I mean, if you talk about like putting it on your car, you need kayak racks on your car, and all the different things. So we have a pretty decent amount of season pass holders that really take advantage of it. And more than anything, it really incentivizes you to like actually get out there and do it.
Well,
a lot of people buy a kayak and it just sits in their garage.
What exactly? Because you've made it easy.
Yeah.
You can just show up and
everything's ready for you.
That's the thing. Like that's like having a boat in a slip.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much easier just to like hop on the boat. But like if you're telling me I gotta like uncover the boat from my driveway and then drive it down there and launch it in with like 19 people watching you, it's just it's weird.
It is, yeah.
And it's almost that's almost the intimidating part.
Totally.
You know, versus even the kayaking part.
Yeah. So our tours are also pretty reasonable. They're obviously more than a rental because you have a guide with you, and the guides have a lot of training. They're first aid certified, and we do like rescue training, and they obviously know all about the biology, the history, and so our guides come very, very qualified. We don't just hire anybody.
Yeah.
So for a 2-hour tour, it's $65 per person, and that's I think a really great.
How many people? You just have to have two people?
We have 2 people minimum. Yep.
That's a pretty personal tour if you end up with 2.
Yeah, and a lot of times it ends up being just 2, especially in the early season and in the fall. Like our crazy season is like July and August. Sometimes we'll do 4 tours a day.
What's your asterisk during greenhead season? Do you have an asterisk, or do you like tell people?
So thankfully, because most of our tours are in Rockport.
Yeah, so
we have no greenheads in Rockport.
Yeah,
that I've seen. Greenheads are more in the marshes, and so typically we'll provide sunscreen, or not sunscreen, bug spray, and we provide sunscreen too. But yeah, let's bring bug spray, and we haven't had any complaints or any issues.
If you keep moving, that's the key. You need a little breeze. So if you're kayaking and you're moving, you're good.
Totally. And the nice thing is, like when you're on a tour, we have sit inside like touring kayaks. So most of your body is literally enclosed inside the kayak. So the only thing that's outside are your arms and your head and your neck.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
Yeah, just
we've never had any complaints. The biggest, honestly, more than greenheads, the no-see-ums are the worst. Because greenheads, as a biologist, greenheads only come out or hatch during a full moon. So they're very predictable when they're there and when they're not there. They're not there all summer long. And so as long as you know when they're there and not there, you can sort of head that off. No-see-ums, though, they're out there all the time.
And then, like that stale, like they love that time, like right at dusk too. Like you're like, oh man, this is the perfect. I'm gonna go watch this sunset, and it's like, bam.
How a tiny, almost microscopic insect can be so painful. I can't explain that from a biology standpoint. But
I agree, they're worse than greenheads.
I think so. And greenheads you can kill. Greenheads you can see. You can swat them away. You can smash them.
I'm convinced greenheads are the strongest thing out there because you'll swat them. If you just leave it there, it will come back to life and it'll take off again. It'll fly away.
They're pretty tough.
They are pretty tough.
Yeah.
You have some other stuff going on. You guys rent or something with fishing, camping equipment. You do like
So we do guided camping tours out on Thacher. So Thacher, a lot of people don't know, but Thacher Island has a campground, which is amazing. Not only do we not have very many campgrounds in Cape Ann, Cape Ann campsite is the only like established campground, and then the campground on Thacher Island. Getting to camp on an island is such an incredible experience that if people haven't done it,
and they limit how many people can camp on a night, so it's not like it's overrun with a bunch of
no, and it's not like a crazy like they have a really nice, they call it the what do they call it, the art gallery / bathroom.
Yeah.
There's no running water, so you have to bring all your own water. I wouldn't say it's primitive camping, but it's almost primitive camping. There's no running water. There's a bathroom. There's no showers. Unfortunately, you can't have open flames, so you can't have like a fun camp fire, which is the only downside. But they also don't want you burning down the island. So I understand.
But you probably get a great like nighttime.
It's so quiet, so peaceful, except for all the birds.
Yeah.
But the stars are amazing out there. Like there's hardly any light pollution.
And just that like sound of the ocean. Like you're totally like engulfed in it.
You really are.
You're literally surrounded by it. It's an island.
Yep. So we do this guided experience where everything, it's all inclusive. We provide all the camping gear, kayaks, a guide. We pay for the camping fee, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can also, if you want to do it yourself, you can just rent a kayak for 24 hours, rent some camping gear if you don't have it. And our prices for like the rentals are very inexpensive compared to like what it would take to buy a tent or anything else. So you can like cook. You have to have just like a cook stove.
Yep.
And so we provide that and have all that to rent as well. And fishing gear. A lot of people will be like, hey, my kids want to go fishing. What's good? And so we provide a rod, a little kit of fishing lures, and then bait as well, if that's what you want.
That's fun.
And so a lot of people we have fishing kayaks. So people will rent our fishing gear, rent a fishing kayak, go out. Like we had a guy 2 years ago, caught almost a 60-inch striper. This thing was towing him around.
He's like, it's a shark.
Thankfully, he had a tandem with his fiance, I think. And so she was like paddling while he was trying to reel this monster in.
He got it on?
He got it in, yeah.
Wow.
There's an epic picture on our Instagram of him with this massive striper.
That's a 5-star Google review.
I know. Yeah, he left a great review.
That is phenomenal.
So, yeah, we try to, anything that people need to like lower the barrier of getting outside, we try to provide. That's our core like moral prerogatives, like providing anything that people need they don't have to get outside and have a fun experience and an adventure. And
so you're slammed in the summer. Personally, you're slammed in the summer, but you started to build out more even in the shoulder seasons. You've got this like survival course, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just give us a quickie on who's a good fit for that.
Anybody besides like maybe 4-year-olds or toddlers,
because you're starting fires, you're like learning
some of our activities.
Survival.
Yeah, we have several different types of survival courses, whether it's like focusing on survival 101, where you're like, oh, this is how you like set up a tent, or how you build a shelter, or how you, like you said, start a fire.
It's like Boy Scouts without the fundraising,
basically.
And you do this at like one time event, or is
it's usually a course.
Okay.
So historically, we've had like 3 different classes. One is like a foraging class. One is like survival 101, and then One year we did like an animal tracking where we got out there. We went to a different spot every week. So usually it's on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and it's like a 2-hour course. But there's four sessions. You don't have to sign up for the whole course. It's a little bit cheaper. So most people end up signing for the whole course. But if you would just have a weekend and you want to come out for one session, you can. We try to make them semi-independent, where you can come have the same experience for just one class. But we also like back other things up, like
If you were doing
the whole course.
thing,
So
yeah.
it's a much better experience if you're doing the whole course than just one class. But it's not like you can't come to one class.
This sounds like I have an 11-year-old boy. This sounds like his dream. You know what I mean? Like, dude, we just get to go outside, Dad, and like build lean-tos and start fires and like track hawks.
Basically.
That's awesome.
But and it's also for adult. Like actually, most of I think almost all of our clientele that have taken the courses have all been adults.
Really?
So far, historically. And I think that's, at least for me, I love kids. I've been teaching anywhere from preschool to college age throughout my career. And so I absolutely love kids. And I've been trying to find kids groups, but they're hard because kids' time is much more valuable, I think, whether it's like doing sports or doing this or doing that. So people don't really parents have struggles trying to commit to.
Yeah. This would be a cool father-son, father-daughter event too.
Yeah.
Because everybody's looking for something to do with their kids and get them away from the screens and get them outdoors. But it's like, okay, like, what are we going to do outdoors? And like, you can play sports, but this is like, some of us have lost our ways in the arts of like starting fires and like having fun in nature and just like making nunchucks out of like tree branches that they find and hitting their brother with them. That never happened to me, but
yeah.
But you know, it's like you got to get out
Absolutely. And that's trying to rebuild that connection to the natural world is one of the biggest things that you can do to like both help your mental stability and also just help to protect the world that we rely on every single day. Like, I feel like every year we become more disconnected to the natural world. And if we don't actively like go out there and try to combat that, we're going to end up both destroying the world and destroying ourselves.
Yeah.
And our mental well-being.
Yeah. So if people want to take you up on any of these things we've talked about today, where should they find you?
Yeah, we have a really great website, NorthShoreAdventureSingular.com. Someone had already taken North Shore Adventures.
Oh man.
But if you
like Botswana.
But yeah. But we have a huge Google and just search engine presence, so you can literally type in anything from North Shore Kayak, North Shore Adventures, North Shore Fun Stuff on Cape Ann, and we'll pop up.
Instagram handles, social media.
North.shore.adventures.
And if you're on Bearskin Neck, just pop in, say hi.
Yep.
That's easy enough.
Yeah, and we try to, like I said, part of lowering the barrier is also offering like customizable experiences. So like going back to our survival stuff, we work with scouting groups, we worked with homeschool groups to offer not just educational and fun things, or just fun things, or just educational things, or all the above. As someone with 10 years of teaching and educational experience and science experience, I've got a lot to work with in my brain.
Yeah.
And so trying to build exactly what our customers want is sort of always my goal. And trying to offer customizable experiences is really cool for me. I like the challenge, and it keeps my mental well-being.
Yeah, this is, I mean, anyone can do this. You know, anyone listening to this is either like, you got your friends coming to town, you want to go find something to do. You're doing a bachelorette party, you want to go do something different than the usual. Like you said, homeschool, and you got a homeschool group, and it's like, we got to find some outdoor activity. You spend enough time in an office with the same people, and you're like, we got to go see something else, but we don't want to go to Boston for a Red Sox game. We do a lot of corporate groups.
You'll be so surprised. So like, that's one of the big things that's really grown, especially last year. We had 10 different corporate groups from Tufts University, MIT, a bunch of urology scientists that were doing a conference, and even what was the group called? It was a group from Georgia and North Carolina based that were all from historically black colleges and universities that get together in different places throughout the country to have like outdoor experiences. And so we took them out on this epic kayaking adventure out from Canoma Point. And these are a bunch of southern boys that had never seen this area before, and they just had such a great time.
Yeah, so it's like anybody can find something. And if you don't like kayaking, there's bikes. And if you don't like bikes, there's Escape Cape Ann. Like, Clay, you've really changed the business a lot. You've really added a lot to it in a short period of time.
Yeah,
so good work.
It feels
good
like
hard work.
Feels like forever, but it's only been 3 years. You're right.
Yeah, it's
very
a
short
lot.
amount of time.
I appreciate you coming on here. I hope the community listening to this comes out and supports you and keeps the growth. And if somebody's looking for a job and you want to, if you align with this mission of like getting people outdoors, I'm sure you could find a spot for them as you continue to grow.
Yeah, we started our hiring process, so we're looking for summer staff.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming on, bud.
Thanks for having us. So much fun.